Hello everyone, this is Professor Radigari, and this lecture is on chapters 12 and 13, which cover pricing and channels. I'm going to follow the book in some regards, so I'm going to have some other things in this lecture that are outside the book as well. So it's very interesting, these two chapters, so hopefully you stick with it. It's quite interesting. Okay, so first of all, I want to highlight some of the problems that firms get into in terms of pricing. Basically, firms tend to set suboptimal prices. One thing that a lot of times firms do is they focus on costs. Yeah, you got to focus on costs a little bit, but that's not all. There's a lot more to that. So, focusing on costs is a very defensive strategy that, at the end of the day, is really not optimal. The market changes. You don't change your prices. This is silly. You've got to address supply and demand, market conditions continually. If you don't, you're gonna lose market share. You're gonna lose sales. It's gonna be a problem. Okay, a lot of times firms, they don't think of pricing as a marketing tool. They don't think of it as a way to set position or set perceived quality for the product. So they just focus on costs. But we know that price can be a huge help in creating a market position. Think about Porsche, for example. We know Porsche's position in the marketplace. I don't have to explain that. But what if they set their price kind of equivalent with a Honda? That's not going to help them create this position in consumers' minds, right? So firms need to really be sure that they do consider price as part of the positioning strategy. Okay, also, a lot of firms don't vary price for different segments, for different channels, those types of things. So it's important that you understand each channel, each market, each product, and do a better job of customizing prices for each of those, because one segment may be willing to pay more than another, so you need to be able to capitalize on that and maximize the revenues for the firm. Remember this equation we talked about before: value equals benefits minus cost. So basically, the value of a product or service is equal to the benefits you derive from it minus the cost that you incur to get it. Okay, so in terms of pricing, we're thinking about the costs, obviously, the cost to the consumer. Big problem is consumers often cannot see beyond the cost. I'll talk about this here in a minute with an example from a company I used to work for. I think hopefully you'll find it pretty interesting. Consumers see the price and they freeze. They say, no, it's too expensive for that particular product. You as a marketer, your job is to try to get consumers beyond this thinking of just cost and think of value. Think about what you're getting in exchange for that cost, how much that benefit exceeds the cost and thus creates value. Okay? Let me back up here. A good example from my life is I have a pair of sunglasses that my wife bought for me at Sunglass Hut. Before she bought these sunglasses, I would never consider buying anything from Sunglass Hut. It's just expensive, and you go in there and there's just a million different pairs of sunglasses. I can't tell the difference. All the salespeople are generally college age, and to me, sunglasses are just sunglasses. Well, my wife bought me these nice sunglasses for Christmas, and I proceeded to break them. She took them back to Sunglass Hut, and they gave her a brand new pair for free. Replaced, no questions asked. Okay? Well, and then what happens to those sunglasses? I proceed to break them. She takes them back, this time because we were beyond some, range of time from when they were actually purchased. They would no longer replace them for free, but they replaced them for half the price. So instead of, say, $200, she got this next pair for $100. So, Sunglass Hut does a good job of having this value add, having these benefits above and beyond the product itself, that when you weigh it against costs, it makes more sense. It creates more value to the consumer. So I don't really know of any Sunglass Hut ads, but this is something they certainly should be promoting if they're not already. So just a good example. Okay, benefits versus cost example. I mentioned a second ago I've got an example from a place I used to work. Well, this is it. I worked for an industrial distributor, and this distributor, they still have salespeople all over the country that go basically door to door selling electrical products, industrial distribution type products. And they sell them to businesses, any place that has a machine shop, a place that repairs their own equipment, is a good potential customer for this business. So golf courses, hospitals, any business, any large business is a good example of a customer that works for this firm. Well, anyways, this firm, their prices were probably the highest in the industry. So you can imagine going into all these different shops. People say, well, no, your price is too high. I can go down the street and get them for 2/3 of the price. So why would I ever buy the product from you? Dilemma, right? You're the high price player. How do you exhibit or signal your value, especially when you're just selling nuts and bolts and wires and tools and those types of things? Wires are wires, nuts are nuts, right? Well, what the firm started to do, and I was involved in this to some degree, was to show the salespeople how to focus on the benefit. When someone brought up costs, you could talk about the benefits and how the benefits much outweigh the costs. A unique feature of this company is they were pretty much one of the only ones that would actually go door to door and have the equipment or the inventory already with them on a fully stocked truck. So if someone buys the product, the salesman would go out, get off the truck, deliver it, instant delivery. Pretty cool. So anyways, what we did is we created this little marketing material that we could give to the salespeople. They could give to some skeptical customers. It just basically compared going with firm A, that is a fully self-service. Basically, you have to go down to the store to get the products and bring it back. It might have a lower price than a full-service outfit like ours. So you have a sample order for firm A. If you buy it from firm A, it's $250. If you buy it from firm B, us, it's $280. So yeah, it's a good bit cheaper. It's $30 above what they would pay someplace else. That's a problem. However, then when you start talking about acquisition costs, these potential skeptical customers start to kind of rethink themselves. Because if you need some materials, some supplies, whatever, and you have to pay someone to go down on the clock on a generally in a company-owned vehicle to go buy the product. So you're basically paying this guy to go buy the products. So if you go with firm B has the products right there. You don't have to stop what you're doing, really. You just keep on rolling, and they'll bring the products inside, put them where you want them, and be done with it. Okay, so you're saving some money there. Now we have a $10 difference, right? $270 versus $280. What about loss of productivity? Not only do you pay this guy to go to the store to buy the parts, but you're also taking away from what it is that he does. So you're in addition to this cost of acquiring the product, you've got this cost of loss of productivity, because the guy that works that particular machine is not working the machine because he's at the store buying a new product and still getting paid to do it. So you throw it together, now look, we're cheaper. We're a full service firm. We're, at the end of the day, we are cheaper because our benefits far outweigh our costs and far outweigh the benefits that you receive from firm A. So sometimes it worked, sometimes it really didn't. It just really depended on the customer, but it was a good way to illustrate this whole value equals benefits minus costs. Okay? Psychological pricing. What is this? It's just basically that consumers respond to numbers and respond to prices in particular ways. Reference prices. You go into the store looking to buy, say, I don't know, a cheeseburger. In your mind, cheeseburgers shouldn't cost more than $4. You go in, the cheeseburger is $2, the cheeseburger is $8. You're going to compare that to the reference price in your mind. It will help you determine how you evaluate that product. Is that burger too expensive? Is it too cheap? If it's too cheap, you may be concerned about the quality. It's too expensive. Is it overpriced? What's going on there? So reference prices. Price quality inference. We know that the higher a price is, the greater the perceived quality of that particular product. So that comes into play. luxury goods, for example. Luxury goods, they aren't priced so high because the cost of materials is so high. I mean, yeah, that's part of it, but it's also this whole idea that that quality is perceived as much higher because it's got a much higher price. Price cues. We respond to different types of cues. For example, left to right. We read numbers left to right. So the reason why you see prices at 99 cents is because since we read left to right, $39.99 in our mind seems to be $1 cheaper than $40. So $1 cheaper than $40. So we say, oh, 39 bucks versus 40 bucks. Clearly this one's $1 cheaper. When in essence it's only a cent cheaper. So you are able to reap the benefit of them thinking the price is $1 cheaper when in fact it's only just a penny cheaper. Okay. Odd versus even. There's been some studies that have shown that odd numbered prices are perceived as discounted, so 99, 97, 95, whereas even numbers, especially the that end in 00, are considered full price. Also, there's the impact of selection on price. If you can't find the product, once you do find the product, you're willing to pay a higher price. Also, what the product is next to in a store can impact how you perceive a particular price. If it's next to a much more attractive option, it's going to look cheaper to you. It might not no longer appeal to you. Whereas if it's more expensive than a cheaper one, you might say, well, it's too high priced, I'm going to go with another one. So there's a lot of psychology that goes into pricing. I want to show you this real brief video here. Hopefully this will work through this method to show you a kind of example of perceived pricing.
This is a small beer from the Oakland A's game in the Oakland Coliseum. $5. This is the large beer. $8. This cup is full.
Right? Ah.
Wait, put it back.
$3 for
$3 extra dollars.
For that amount of beer.
No tricks, no gimmicks.
Oh my god.
My god. Awesome.
Okay, so this is an extreme example. This is an example of a pretty deceptive marketing. But the idea here is that you see those two cups. You see that one looks bigger than the other, but it's only 15% more. You're going to go and you're going to buy it. Now, because this was kind of deceptive, yeah, that kind of throws another wrench in the works. But the idea here is that you see different sizes compared to one another, and that impacts which one you decide to go with. Okay, another video. I want to show you this again. Hopefully this will show up. If not, I can send the link later if there are problems.
Here are two examples of this principle. This was an ad from The Economist a few years ago that gave us three choices. An online subscription for $59, a print subscription for $125, or you could get both for $125. Now, I looked at this and I called up The Economist and I tried to figure out what were they thinking. And they passed me from one person to another, until eventually I got to a person who was in charge of the website, and I called them up, and they went to check what was going on, and the next thing I know, the ad is gone, and no explanation. So I decided to do the experiment that I would have loved The Economist to do with me. I took this and I gave it to 100 MIT students. I said, what would you choose? And these are the market share. Most people wanted the combo deal. Thankfully, nobody wanted the dominated options. It means our students can read. But now, if you have an option that nobody wants, you would take it off, right? So I printed another version of this when I eliminated the middle option, and I gave it to another 100 students. Here's what happens. Now the most popular option became the least popular, and the least popular became the most popular. What was happening is that the option that was useless in the middle was useless in the sense that nobody wanted it. But it wasn't useless in the sense that it helped people figure out what they wanted. In fact, relative to the option in the middle, which was get only the print for 125, the print and web for 125 looked like a fantastic deal. And as a consequence, people chose it. The general idea here, by the way, is that we actually don't know our preferences that well. And because we don't know our preferences that well, we're susceptible to all of these influences from the external forces, the defaults, the particular options that are presented to us, and so on.
Okay, so kind of fascinating there, this idea that he talks about how we don't generally know what we want, and that's very true, but the reason I put it here is this impact of you know, selection on price, and the idea that you're willing to shift to a different product, a different price based on the other options available. So let's review this again. Hopefully you're able to see that and understand that. But in one example, 16% picked the $59 option, 0 picked the $125 option, which was the you know, print only, and then 84% picked the print and online together. So if we assume that you know, we convert the percentages into just out of 100 people, this would be your total revenues from those 100 customers. Okay, $11,444. However, if you take out that middle option, more people gravitate towards the online edition. They don't really need the print edition. I don't care, don't want it. So 68% go with the online only, 32% go with the print only, and that leaves us with total revenue of $8,000. So we've lost $3,000 basically because we took out an option that nobody wanted. So you know, this is part of the, you know, marketing. We could have a debate all day long about whether this is ethical or not, but basically that middle option that no one wants was allowed consumers to decide what it is they exactly wanted, and by keeping it in there, it was more profitable to the firm than not having it in there at all. Okay, so when we set price policy, you know, I'm not really going to go through this too much. It's just, you know, you just gotta have some sort of objective, figure out how many you're going to sell, figure out what it's going to cost you, kind of figure out, you know, where you want to be in relation to your competition. Okay, so when you set price and objective, you can set it based on survival, maximizing different things. Market skimming, meaning you want to maximize as much revenue in the beginning as possible. You've got R&D costs to recoup, so you set a high price, kind of skim off the top, and then as demand starts to slow, then you slowly lower your prices. This happens a lot in technology. Think about DVD players when they first came out. They were $1,000. Now you can go to Walmart and get one for 35 bucks. So clearly there was some skimming that went on early on. And market penetration is the exact opposite, where you start with a super low price, you use it to build interest and awareness, and as it starts to build, as demand starts to grow, then you slowly raise prices to match that demand. Product quality leadership, you know, you want to be seen as the high quality leader, so you have a high price. Lots of different things. Of course, consumers are sensitive to prices. Clearly, we know this for a fact. What are some determinants of that? How much money we make, clearly, and what chunk of our income is going to be used or needed to buy this product. What it would cost to switch. You know, if switching from one product to the other is going to be difficult. It's going to impact pricing. So product is a small part of the acquisition. This changes how we look at prices. Price is a proxy for quality. You know, if we're interested in quality, we're willing to pay a higher price because we view it as resulting in higher quality. If you can't compare suppliers, if it's hard to compare competition, it's probably going to allow you to raise and earn higher prices on your products. Okay, moving ahead to step 4 in that 6 or 7 step process, analyzing your competition. Does the firm offer features not offered by competitors? If the answer is yes, you may be able to get away with a much higher price. You know, given this particular competitor, should our prices be higher, lower, or the same? You're going to have to consider this in MarkStrat many times. It's going to drive you nuts trying to figure out how to price your products based on the competition. Sometimes it should be higher, sometimes it should be lower. There's certain times where you can argue to keep it exactly the same. Okay, methods for setting prices. Markup pricing. We just set a certain percentage above cost. Again, not recommended, but it's a way to set prices. Target return, we want to get X percentage back. Again, not that ideal, but works. Perceived value, again, we're jumping in more into the softer side of marketing here, this idea that there's a perceived value based on a particular price level, which might allow you to charge a higher price. Value pricing, you want to be the low cost leader. Walmart, McDonald's, places like that. Going rate pricing, maybe the price just kind of moves all over the place based on market forces. Think about the cost of a home loan or an auto loan. This is going rate pricing. Auction type pricing, this is where you have an auction. Think about eBay. Price depends on those particular bidders that are bidding on it, so it's directly tied to demand. Pay what you want. This is a kind of a new pricing model which is used very carefully, very selectively, and this is the idea that basically you pay whatever you want for that particular product. A good example is Panera Bread Company. They opened a store in, I believe, in St. Louis, where they didn't have any stated prices. You just paid what you wanted to. So it really was a nice, or is a nice exercise in human behavior. Are people going to take advantage of the company, or are they going to be honest? And in a lot of cases, they found that people actually overpaid for the products. A wrinkle in this is they tied the store's profits to a charity, so people knew that going in. It kind of tugged at their heartstrings and it helped them keep their prices up. But I have heard of coffee houses, especially in the Northwest, that have a pay whatever you want pricing model, and they end up making more money than if they had set prices. It's pretty fascinating. So after 1 month, this is related to this Panera. After 1 month of this experiment, pay what you want, 60 to 70% of all the customers paid the full price. 15% left paid a little more. 15% paid nothing at all, or much less. Some made very large donations, 20 bucks for a cup of coffee, 100 grand in revenues in this new store after 1 month. So that's pretty good. Pretty good. Final price. Things to consider when finally deciding on your price. What is the impact of other marketing activities? So, to what degree is your advertising strategy going to impact the price you can charge? Company pricing policies. Maybe there's some rigid policy in place that you can't get around, so that clearly is going to come into play. Gain and risk sharing pricing. Maybe that you are able to share the risk with another product, with another company even. That would come into play here. Impact of the price on other parties. Think about social marketing. Think about fair pricing. You may be able to get away with a higher price, but if it doesn't serve the common good, if it doesn't allow you to reach more people, based on your marketing strategy or your company's philosophy, that might not be what you want to do. So you might lower the prices to make it more accessible. Okay, promotional pricing. Loss leader pricing. This is a product that you basically lose money on, but it gets people in the door. So like the end caps in supermarkets are loss leaders. And you'll see loss leaders all over Walmart and Target as well. And they get you in the door. They lose money on those products, but generally people buy other products, and on those products they will make a profit. Special event pricing. A lot of Major League Baseball teams, when they have their biggest rival or the most popular teams in the country in town, they'll charge a different price because they can. Financing terms, rates and durations can change, and that can impact prices. Warranties and service contracts, those come into pricing for sure. Psychological discounting, was $50, now $35. that plays a heavy hand on consumers, because people like to feel like they're getting a deal, so that works. And I must say that it must be ethical, though. I'm not advocating that companies should sell their or start their prices super high, like way above market, and then discount immediately to kind of sucker people. I don't certainly do not advocate that at all. But just note that if you are, you know you're getting a product on sale, you like the fact that you're getting a deal, so that it's very effective. Cash rebates: buy this product, we'll send you $50 in the mail. Differentiated pricing: we can price our products for different consumers, for different markets, for different segments, in certain ways. Customer segment pricing: you might charge one segment one price, another segment another price. You know, like wealthier individuals, you might charge a little bit more if you can get away with that. Veterans, you get discounts. Kids, you get discounts. Product form pricing: you sell 20-ounce bottle of ketchup versus 12-ounce bottle of ketchup. Generally, the 20-ounce bottle will be cheaper per ounce than the 12-ounce bottle. Image pricing: again, you create an image based on your price level. So maybe you set a high price to create an image. Channel pricing: maybe you sell your products at Amazon for one price, and you sell your products at Best Buy for a different price. Different costs, different markets, makes sense. Fast food restaurant versus a baseball stadium: you sell hot dogs, you can get away with selling them for a larger price, a higher price at the baseball stadium, because you've got kind of this captured market. Location pricing: again, sporting events, this kind of falls into that same place. Time pricing: a lot of utilities, they encourage you to use less energy during the day, more energy at night, by having cheaper per kilowatt hour rates during off-peak hours. Product mix pricing: so you've got a bunch of different products. There are different ways that you can decide how to price these. Product line: Mercedes has a C-Class, E-Class. They have different price levels, clearly to delineate themselves from each other in the consumer's minds, for sure. Optional feature: we can add a navigation system on top of the base price, and of course it'll cost you. Captive products: shavers and razor blades. Gillette basically gives away their shavers, knowing that only their replacement razor blades work on it. So it's kind of like a loss leader. They don't make money on the shaver, they make money on the razor blades. And I'm not sure if it's still this way in the U.S., but it used to be that Gillette on your 16th birthday, I believe, would send you, if you're a male, send you a shaver with a couple blades to kind of get you hooked. I don't have the actual shaver from back then, but I still use the same exact brand, the same exact model because of that. Two-part pricing: cell phones, you pay for the phone and you pay for the service. Byproduct pricing: carpet seller, they sell carpet, they cut it to the way it needs to be in your house, they've got leftover, they sell the remnants. College kids all over the world go and buy carpet remnants for their dorm rooms. Cheese curds: dairy sells, it makes cheese. One byproduct of the cheese making process is cheese curds, and cheese curds in fact themselves are even delicious, so they're able to sell the cheese curds at a great discount, but allows them to extract more revenue out of a particular set of raw materials. And then product bundling: think about combo meals. You buy a Happy Meal, you get a cheeseburger and french fries and a drink. There's grown-up combo meals as well, that allows you to sell more product and increase revenue for the firm. Okay, now you may be thinking, if you're in business, or if you're trying to go into business, if you're trying to compete with the competition, that, well, if things aren't going so well, we can just cut our prices, right? Well, yeah, you can, but there's a lot of danger involved in this. First of all, your products may be perceived as of low quality, and this is never a good thing. If you go from, if you're an average quality product and you want to kind of make some gains in market share, you lower your price to increase demand, but in the same time your brand is hurt because people associate that low price with low quality. Low prices buy market share, but they don't buy loyalty. So consumers are willing to switch from product to product, chasing that lowest price. So that's not good because customer acquisition is very expensive. Price war never benefits anybody because revenues are cut lower and lower and lower until they have to start making more drastic changes in order to maintain these low prices and also make a profit. Salesperson issues. So salespeople sometimes think that, yeah, well, we should lower our prices. At least the firm where I worked, it was like that, which is totally understandable. But the idea is if you lower prices on products that salespeople sell but keep the commission rates the same, they have to work harder and sell more of that product to make the exact same level of commission, which at the end of the day, the salesman's going to say, well, no, that really wasn't a good idea, so never mind. Why increase prices? People don't want to pay more, they want to pay less, so why would you increase prices? Greater margin, clearly, maybe you can get more money out of a particular customer. Enhance perceived quality. Just noticeable difference is what J&D stands for, may allow for, and just noticeable difference is basically means that there's this threshold that we have as consumers in our perception and our attention to detail that we may be able to raise prices and the consumers won't even notice. So you think about a firm that sells $100,000 of product every single month. Well, if you raised your prices 1%, is the consumer going to really notice that? Probably not. But your revenues are going to really notice that. You're going to make an extra % on top of that $100,000 every month, which could be a big deal. It could make or break a firm. So, just noticeable difference may allow for it for sure. Higher commissions for salespeople, again, the opposite of lowering prices. Salespeople and price cuts, I kind of jumped the gun here, but again, if your current price is $10, you make 10%. The commission's $1 a unit. You got to sell 1,000 to make $1,000. If they decide to lower the price, now you've got products selling for $9. Commission rate is still the same. You make 90 cents commission per unit. Now you have to sell 1,112 to make the same exact $1,000. So the idea here is that cutting prices is a pretty dangerous thing on a lot of different fronts. You start lowering your prices, you become known as a low price person, and oftentimes it's very hard to dig out of that hole and to kind of shed that low cost reputation. Now, if that's what you want, that's fine, but generally most firms don't. Okay, so again, you lower your prices on products, salespeople have to work harder, they're gonna drive more, they're gonna spend more time, take more effort. Generally, it's not a good thing. Okay, dealing with competition, I'm not going to go through all this, but just note that if you have low-cost competition, you have options. You don't necessarily have to always go into a price war. You can do lots of other things in order to overcome or to compete with them. Alright, switching gear, just quickly to talk about channels. Channels are just basically the physical distribution of product. It's where the consumer actually receives or is able to purchase the product. So if we think about the 4 P's, the channels is the place. The product, price, place, promotion. Channels are place. So you've got the producer and you've got the ultimate buyer at the end user. You have numerous ways you can get your products to the end user. You can sell it direct, as is shown here. You can go through middlemen across this way. If you go directly from the producer to the ultimate buyer, you're it's a direct distribution channel. If you go through any other intermediary, you've got an indirect channel. Okay, so each of these has their advantages and disadvantages for sure. Okay, channel selection from a consumer perspective. So say you want to go and buy this CD. I'm a big fan of this rock band. I don't care, make fun of it, whatever. I love their music. But anyways, you want to go and you want to buy this music. You've got all these different places that you can buy. You can download it from iTunes, you can go to Walmart, you can go to Best Buy, you can buy it or download it from Amazon, and you can go, if you can find one, to a local record store. So you have all these different options. So based on this, what should marketers know to be able to effectively design distribution channels? And the answer to this is going to play heavily into how you make your marketing decisions in MarkStrat. Okay? And obviously the answer is you need to know where consumers want to buy the product. If consumers are now all going to iTunes now, you may not have to sell products through the local record store or through Best Buy anymore. There's just no need. The point is here that you need to be where your consumers are. Be that online, brick and mortar, whatever. It's just kind of the same rationale as to why firms now have Twitter accounts. Is their consumers respond to Twitter and Facebook messages, so the firms are just going where their consumers are. So, how do we decide which channel to use? We need to know who our customer is, where they buy products, when do they buy them, how do they buy them, what do they buy, and this gives us an idea about where to where to distribute and offer our products. So if our potential customers shop at Amazon and iTunes only, and they buy whole albums, or they buy single songs instead of whole albums, that lends itself to saying you need to be online and don't worry about brick and mortar. So again, think about the music. Do you buy CDs? Do you buy digital MP3 downloads? And where do you buy them from? Knowing that will give you an idea about where you should be. So again, I mentioned indirect and direct marketing channels earlier. Indirect, you use intermediaries to reach targets. If you're engaging in direct distribution, you deal with the end user directly. Okay, so if you go direct, you have your own sales force, you have your own stores, you have your own website that consumers can go to buy product. Generally, you might have a catalog and a phone. If you go indirect, you need to think about what types of intermediaries, retailers, wholesalers, distributors, agents, brokers, those types of things. Where you want to be, number of different levels. So when I say number of different levels, if you have just one intermediary, that's one particular set of levels. If you have two intermediaries, a different set of levels. Okay, so under which circumstances is direct used versus indirect? Well, direct is used when you need complete control, when products are more expensive. So think about, for example, think about Boeing. Boeing makes jets. Well, Boeing doesn't sell their jets through Best Buy or through Sears. They actually have their own sales force that go out and directly sell the jets. And why do they do that? Because A, you couldn't fit a jet into Best Buy, first of all. A bad joke there. Secondly, it allows them to have complete control. This product is very expensive, it's very complex. You need experts that are able to explain in detail all the different features to a potential customer. So you don't want to give up that control and let someone else do that. You want to do that yourself. Direct distribution has more risk, sort of. And when I say sort of, that's because there's more risk because you're incurring all the costs. You have all the different levels of the distribution channel are yours. You've got salespeople that are yours. You got to pay them. So if things go bad, you've got all these costs that you've incurred. But it's less expensive in the fact that by having control, you're controlling some things that might go wrong indirectly. You're increasing the chances that they won't go wrong directly. Okay, so indirect channels, you have less control. They're possibly temporary. You can retailers can pull out on you all the time. It happens a lot. Positive is you can leverage the expertise and access of a particular channel. If you sell products in the in the East Coast and you want to sell them in the West Coast also, you have no presence there, it may be good to use someone who's already there and knows the market. Indirect can be cheaper, purely because you're not having to incur the cost of a factory and, I'm sorry, not a factory, but a retail operation and those types of things. So it can be cheaper. And it's less risky, sort of. Less risky because it's cheaper, but more risky in some ways because you're giving up control. So things can kind of get out of hand with your retailers. Okay? So that's direct versus indirect. Transaction costs. When we're thinking about channels, we need to think about what it costs per transaction. So direct sales channels are going to incur the highest cost per transaction. Again, you have salespeople, you have brick and mortar retail stores, you have your own website. There's lots of costs involved there. So direct sales channels have the highest cost per transaction, but they also have the highest value add. Again, salespeople are very knowledgeable. They can explain much to the consumer that they can't get through an indirect channel generally. So your value add is very high. Indirect channels, your costs per transaction and your value add of sale are somewhere in the middle. The distributors are, somewhat knowledgeable about your product, but not nearly as knowledgeable as you. Also because they're the ones incurring the cost of the sales force and the cost of the brick and mortar retail shop. There's less cost per transaction to the manufacturer. And then finally, the lowest cost per transaction and the lowest value add of sale is direct marketing, where you have, your own retail stores, you have telemarketers, you have the internet, you have those types of things. So you're limiting to some degree your cost per transaction, but you're also limiting your value add. So at the retail level, we're trying to decide between different retail channels to sell our products. So you have to decide your coverage. Some products you want intense coverage, you want basically your product everywhere. So Coca-Cola, Wrigley's gum, they want to be all over the place. Others are the opposite end of the spectrum. They want very exclusive distribution. So think about Rolex, think about Fabergé, think about Ferrari, Lamborghini. If there was a Lamborghini or a Ferrari dealership as commonly placed as there are Honda dealerships or Ford dealerships, it's going to lose some of its luster. So where you choose to distribute your product and how you choose, or how widespread you choose to distribute, is going to impact how consumers view it. So in essence, it in and of itself is a marketing channel. And in the middle, selective coverage. This is, you sell them multiple places, but not everywhere. So Levi's jeans, Sony products, they're going to be in Walmart, they're going to be in Best Buy, they're not going to be every single place you can find. Alright, channel conflict. What is this? Hopefully you've read about it, but channel conflict is just the idea that you've got multiple levels in a distribution channel that kind of cause problems to one another. So vertical conflict, okay? So you've got the manufacturer, which is you, and then you've got the retailer, and then you've got the end user. So one particular source of conflict is just if you have a particular supplier that doesn't do what you want him to do, you're going to create some sort of channel conflict. Boeing had this issue when they first were trying to develop the 787 Dreamliner. They had a lot of outsourced supplies, and there was a time or two where the one supplier didn't come through on time, and that kind of gummed up the whole process. So the next person in the chain couldn't do his thing until he got the parts from the previous guy, and just kind of created a big roadblock. So kind of a domino effect, if you will. And you have horizontal conflict. Two franchisees. Think about Subway. There's Subways on every street corner in the United States now, almost, it seems like. So that can create conflict between two franchisees. They're not happy that their territory has been cut, because now you have two sandwich shops in the same locale, basically. So you've got conflict between two channel members that are on the same level. Multi-channel conflict, okay? So an example of this is music retailers. You sell product through Amazon, you sell it at Walmart, you sell it through iTunes, you sell it at Best Buy. So consumers can go to any of these places to buy the product. So if you're a retailer, you're not happy about this because you're competing with other retailers for the exact same product, which seems a little bit inefficient. But if you're the manufacturer, you like this because it increases your exposure, increases your reach and your visibility. Another thing I want to talk about is brand dilution. We can physically dilute our brand image via channels, via where we actually physically sell our product. Okay, so just note that your channel must fit your brand image. You don't want to sell Polo, Ralph Lauren, and Walmart, because Walmart is known as kind of the low-cost leader, and Ralph Lauren has got a high-quality image, so they don't really match. There's got to be some sort of fit there. You don't also want to sell Lee jeans and Nordstrom. There's just no fit there. Okay, so how do we ultimately decide which channels to use? What provides the best coverage, type, and location based on our goals? What channel and intermediaries satisfy the requirements of target market? So again, if you're selling music, that industry, that market is going more and more online, so you want to make sure that you have an online presence for sure. And what channel and intermediary is the most profitable? Is it iTunes? Is it Amazon? Is it Google Play? There's lots of different places where you can distribute music online. So, what's going to be the best option for you guys from a bottom line standpoint? Alright, that's it. That's a mouthful. That was a long one. Hopefully you guys got some good information out of that and can use it to your advantage. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. You know where to find me. Alright, thanks and have a great day.